when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing.
People are worried about Justin Bieber. The 30-year-old sorry singer was spotted looking tense and hollow-eyed in New York City on Wednesday.
So, Terrence Howard just opened a Pandora's box with his recent bombshell interview, and all the nasty industry secrets are coming out one after the other, including what really happened between Justin Bieber and Diddy and how Diddy used his daughters to lure him in. Yes, you heard that right. It turns out that Diddy has allegedly been putting his girls to work for the longest time, and it's not like he's asking them to help around the studio or anything like that. Oh no, it's much nastier than that. Ever wonder how Diddy manages to keep so many young men and teenage boys around? Well, Justin Bieber has a lot to say about that. And trust me, y'all are not ready for the nasty things Justin has been talking about these last few days.
You know, he wants to hang out with you next week, and I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it.
At this point, Terrence Howard is like one of those Hollywood veterans you can trust to talk about the things that really matter, things that make people think and ask questions about our world. Well, he certainly didn't hold back in his recent interview with the PBD podcast. He was dishing out truth bomb after truth bomb, and some of the things he said have shaken the entire industry to its core. Let's start with this scary ritual Terrence talked about that goes on behind the scenes in the industry called the man card ritual. According to Terrence, it involves men doing certain things to the Hollywood powers that be just so they can get ahead in their careers. According to Terrence, this man card thing is why many men in Hollywood end up getting addicted to different substances. They've been so damaged by the things they had to give up to get to where they were in their careers that they're always chasing the next high so they don't have to face reality.
You know, there's a short life in...
Why do you think that is with the creative side?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take drugs. You're going through so much shit to try and deal with life. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. You know.
When the interviewer asked Terrence what he meant by men giving up their man card and if it meant what everyone thought it did, Terrence said, yeah. He didn't come out and say it outright, but it was obvious Terrence was talking about men getting oiled up and bent over at freak-off parties as a way to get the next career opportunity.
Well, when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right of being a mother and taking care of her family and do all those things. When you give up those things, like when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You should have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man card, no matter what.
Oh, but it got much worse because Terrence was about to drop another bombshell. He spilled the tea about how Diddy once started moving to him, trying to be slick. Diddy had allegedly reached out to Terrence, asking him to come over and be his acting coach. However, when Terrence got to Diddy's house, Diddy wasn't really interested in being coached or taught anything. He was basically just hanging around. Another time, Diddy allegedly invited Terrence over for a little music session. And guess what? The same thing happened. No music, just Diddy sitting around staring at Terrence. By the third invite, Terrence's assistant finally hinted to him that Diddy wasn't trying to do any work with him. He wanted to quote unquote hang out with him. You know, the type of parties that involve cheeks being parted and backs being broken. Terrence said he recoiled at the thought of Diddy wanting to party with him in that manner. It was so disgusting to him that he couldn't even imagine being in that scenario.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the
Hell
consequences
yeah.
when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to, that's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Now, during this interview, Justin Bieber's name came up as one of the guys who had unfortunately fallen into the man card ritual thing and had to rely on drugs to cope. Terrence agreed that this ritual changes men who participate in it for life.
So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does.
And Justin Bieber is a classic example of a guy whose life entirely flipped upside down after he started hanging around Diddy and his crowd. Justin's story is one of the most heartbreaking examples of how being a child star forces kids to grow up and be exposed to all sorts of things they have no business being exposed to. Justin has also revealed that there are so many layers to this trend of young artists being initiated into this sick lifestyle by older artists. During his tell-all interview with Zane Lowe, he broke down in tears as he explained how he wanted to do everything he could to protect Billie Eilish.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So if she ever needs me, I'm gonna be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters, and I just want to protect her, I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. Yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
Justin believes he was exposed to fame way too early, which made him experience things that were way too mature for his age. So he wants to be there for Billie to make sure she doesn't go through the same thing. He also believed that the reason this culture has lasted so long was that older artists introduced younger artists to this lifestyle. And that is exactly what happened with him. Justin was first discovered in 2008 by music manager Scooter Braun, who noticed one of his singing videos on YouTube. Scooter reached out to Justin's mother, and a few handshakes later, 14-year-old Justin was on a plane to LA by himself with nothing but his innocence and sweet singing voice. Justin ended up meeting Usher, who took him under his wing and tried to help him develop his singing abilities and style. Usher and Scooter actually called themselves Justin's swagger coach. By 2010, Justin's career had skyrocketed, and he was one of the biggest pop stars in the world. As a teenager, he was topping charts, selling out stadiums, and making teenage girls and even some grown women swoon. Justin was in a league of his own. However, while people always remember his swift rise to success, a lot of people usually overlook the fact that Justin was literally a kid. He was mostly unsupervised, and he was surrounded by many powerful people. Sadly, not all of them had good intentions towards him. Take Diddy, for example. Diddy took a keen interest in Justin the moment Usher introduced them to each other, and he swooped in hard. He made it clear pretty early on that he was serious about building a relationship with Justin, but in hindsight, it kind of looks like Diddy was love bombing him. The first publicly recorded interaction between Diddy and Justin Bieber happened when Justin was just 15. This video started going viral where Diddy was talking about Justin spending 48 hours with him, but here's the catch. He said they couldn't disclose what they were doing for those 48 hours.
Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
What could a middle-aged man be doing with an unsupervised teen for 2 whole days that was so secretive that he couldn't tell the public? And on top of that, how creepy is it to say it's a 15-year-old's dream? In that same interaction, Diddy promised 15-year-old Justin a Lamborghini and a house just out of the blue.
16. You're not ready. Let's slow down. Let's slow down, Justin.
Okay.
Let's slow down, okay?
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours. When you get 16, you're good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
And then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay. I
Yeah.
got the mansion.
Yeah.
At the time, Diddy was promoting his album Last Train to Paris, a project by the musical trio Dirty Money, which included Diddy, Kalena Harper, and Don Richard. Because Justin was also rapidly rising in fame around the same time, it was assumed that Diddy's sudden interest in him was just a promotional move. You know that thing bigger artists do where they co-sign the latest sensation so the hype surrounding the newer artist can rub off on them? Interesting. This wasn't the first time Diddy was taking a younger artist under his wing. He did the same with Usher back in the late 90s. As a teenager, Usher actually lived with Diddy in what was supposed to be a puffy flavor camp. Usher later did interviews where he made it clear that his period in Diddy's house was one of the worst periods of his life, and that he would never allow his son go through that. So that gives you a picture of what Diddy mentoring young boys is like.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to puffy camp?
Hell no.
And that's why it doesn't make sense that Usher was the one who introduced Justin to Diddy. It was like Usher was passing down the baton, except this time it was for something much more sinister. Diddy made a point of seeking out Justin, and by 2010, they were appearing together more frequently at industry events and interviews. At the time, nobody thought much of it because Diddy said their relationship was just a friendship. There were also incidents where Diddy seemed to put Justin on the spot and derived pleasure from making him uncomfortable. For example, around 2011, Justin and Diddy were spotted at a studio together, and Diddy confronted Justin about why he wasn't hanging out with him anymore.
You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. But you never really got my number, so.
Correct. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 555.
Yes.
Even grown men like Fabulous get nervous when Diddy brings up that "come party with me" shtick. How much more a teenager?
I was coming off of being in Miami a night of partying. I don't really remember what I was saying. You know what I'm saying?
Would you like a reminder?
Yeah, sure.
Play some.
Hey, yo, listen, I love it all. I love it all, man. I like when you like this, Daddy.
Where you put my bag
Daddy, I
at?
like when you
Oh, it's right here,
scrambling
it's
and
right here.
scraping for shit.
That was you.
Scrambling.
What? You said, I like when you do it like that, Daddy. When you scrambling and scraping for shit.
Hey.
I don't know what I was talking about.
Nah. I mean, I was
You don't
called,
go back
no,
and
no,
look at that stuff and laugh?
I mean, it could be funny. I don't really be on it like that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like.
You can see Justin get visibly nervous in the video too as Diddy grills him about hanging out with him. Diddy didn't stop at that though. He made sure everyone knew how interested he was in Justin. And yet, Diddy could never really explain why he was so invested in Justin. The best he could do when asked was to say Justin was a great kid.
We've become friends in a strange way, you know?
Like Robin Big.
Yeah, it's like, exactly.
I'm big and you're Robin.
Yeah, no, I mean, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever know.
But come on, being a great kid doesn't explain why a grown man would promise a kid a Lambo and a house just so he could hang out with him. Also, looking back now, there were so many situations where Diddy implied or outrightly said that Justin couldn't tell anyone what they did together. For example, during this 2011 interview with Jimmy Kimmel, Diddy said Justin knew better than to say what he did with Big Brother Puff on national TV, but that wasn't all. Diddy also mentioned that Justin had access to his house, which is just a really weird thing to say.
We talked about this last time. He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Oh, apparently not. Some things, everything ain't for everybody.
It seemed funny to people at the time, but looking back, people have started questioning whether something else was happening behind the scenes. Now here's where things get even more sinister. There have been whispers floating around that Diddy used his daughters to keep Justin Bieber around, and with everything we've been hearing about them, folks are saying those whispers might be true. Diddy's daughters, Chance, and twins Delilah and Jessie, were making the news after Diddy got arrested because many people were wondering if and how Diddy's lifestyle affected them. them. It was especially bad for the twins because they had to witness everything Diddy did to their mom, Kim Porter. There were even reports that the twins used to see Diddy putting his hands on Kim and had to be in therapy for a long time after she passed away. We've also seen that when it comes to protecting his children from his freak-off lifestyle, Diddy isn't getting any awards. His sons, Justin and Christian, were literally named in some of the lawsuits against him. Christian has a whole case against him for allegedly SAing a woman on a supposed family trip that Diddy was also on. So it's not the craziest thing to imagine that Diddy also got his girls involved in that lifestyle in some way. And trust me, people are talking, they're wondering if Diddy managed to get so many young guys to stick around because he was offering up his daughters to sweeten the deal. It seems like a crazy idea to imagine that a father can't protect his kids from certain things, especially things that have to do with Hollywood, freak-offs, and the fast lane. But with everything we've learned about Diddy this past year, you really can't put anything past him. As for Justin, word on the street is that he's also gearing up to testify against Diddy in his upcoming trial. Justin has been trying really hard to put his relationship with Diddy behind him and focus on his wife, Haley, and their kid, but it's been really hard. According to sources close to him, he's been struggling even more since Diddy got arrested and all his alleged crimes started coming to light. At this point, he just wants to close that chapter of his life and move on. But do you guys think Justin is still going to come out on the other side of this without losing himself? And do you think he needs to testify against Diddy or just move on with his life? Let us know in the comments and stick around for this next video.